All right, everybody. Welcome to Free China Post, episode 18. We're getting real close to number 20 here soon. So I'm finally in the new apartment, aka the new studio, aka the new studio apartment. So this is gonna come out in like a week because I still need to edit 16 and 17. I started editing 16, but I had to delete it because the only way I could record this one is if I exited out of Audacity. So that was kind of lame, but I wasn't very far into it, thankfully. So, whatever.
Whatever.
But, yeah, we also had New Year's and all that kind of stuff. So it's just busy time of the year, and pretty busy with news and things like that too. It's been quite hectic.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just a non-stop barrage. The government's been in shutdown for 10 days. Xi Jinping gave his big little speech here.
Yeah, so for anyone that's like, I mean, most people probably know about the shutdown in the U.S., but like, what about the speech he gave? What are the highlights from that for everyone who's not in the loop? I know he said some stuff about like basically like Taiwan is part of China.
Yeah, he basically said no compromise. There's nobody that's gonna stop us. It's like a spurned lover, and then the courts put a restraining order between them. The courts here being the United States, and they're like, no fucking court's gonna stop me from being with her once I kill her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once I put her in my basement and she does whatever I want.
That's basically what the situation is. That just gonna wait until the court's not looking, and then lock your ex-wife up in the basement. And never let her leave.
Pretty much.
And cut out her tongue so she can't say anything against you.
Yeah. Well, we always pretty much go back and forth every day, like posting different stuff that we saw, and you posted a few things, and the stuff from that I saw that you sent that poll from Woshitsolniren.
Oh yeah.
And like
good stuff.
That was like that, man, I really have seen they've been like when I first started following them, they basically just posted like, "Oh, 你吃过这个餐厅吗?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's all I saw. And then once we had the midterms, it was just like, it went from like restaurants to like they were like posting stuff about Hangulyu and like all this like super like partisan stuff, and I was like, what is going on with this?
Positive or
and
negative?
And then they're posting stuff. They're very hardline KMT stuff, from what I understood. I didn't look at all the posts, but they're posting a lot about the candidate. What's his name? I forget his name. The KMT candidate in Taoyuan for Taoyuan mayor.
Oh.
And like even my KMT friends were like, he's bad. Like he's like even Abby and like a few other people who I know are like KMT supporters were like, I'm not voting for him because he's trash. And they were posting all this stuff about him, like, oh, don't you support like I can't remember what his name is now, but he's like really garbage and got like smashed by like 10 points.
Yeah, Taiwan was one of the only cities in Taiwan that went green this time. It was weird.
Yeah, because the mayor is actually like apparently pretty good. Like I don't know. It's really hard to find out about policies from a lot of these people, but like from what I understood, like he at least has done a good job being mayor in the town. So
you should follow some of these leftist Facebook groups. They have like all these memes that I've been posting. They've got lots of good memes and stuff about Taiwan politics.
Yeah, I would like to see some of that. It's just really hard, especially like when you go on someone's wiki and basically it just says like, oh, the work does like was the mayor, and then you go to like policies and it's just like he follows the DPP platform or the KMT platform. You have to go in and like read it all in Chinese, and like sometimes don't have time to like go through all of that and like read someone's like deep policy positions in Chinese.
I'll send you a couple. These are just like some good memes and stuff.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, any more information I can get. I really need to like get more educated on Taiwanese politics. I feel like I don't even know enough at all. But yeah, man. I mean,
yeah, one of them is, it's kind of like a play on words.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you can check it out. One of them is the word for meme in Chinese is like I I forget the tone. Gangtu. Anyway, so it's like the name of the group is Ganglu, like more green, but also like mean green, kind of like.
Yeah. Clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Both of these are good. You'll get lots of good memes from them.
All right, I'll follow them. There's also been, man, I haven't, because of like all the, like I've been moving out and like trying to get everything in the order and everything, and there's been like the New Year's holiday. I just haven't been like following news very like as closely as I've wanted to, even U.S. news. So I'm a little out of the loop right now.
There's been a lot of stuff going on, man. The shutdown is big news.
Yeah, shutdown is huge. I've definitely been following.
I really can't believe how this has gone. I mean, you saw like the old video with like Chuck Schumer tricked him. I mean, he said it on tape. He's like, yeah, fine, this is my shutdown. I'm going to shut the government down. I'm going to take responsibility for this. And then he goes on Twitter and says, the Nancy Pelosi shutdown is dragging on. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's a joke.
Have you lost your fucking mind? Like,
The answer is yes to that.
Do you think anyone like buys it? Like, seriously?
His sellout base does.
No, man.
I think like 20. I think about 20%, or maybe they don't buy it, but they don't care, man.
They don't care
if he's lying or
like
not.
the Jerry Falwell, man. Did you hear about that? Jerry Falwell Jr. Like he's
No, fuck that guy though. But go ahead.
People who don't support Trump are bad Christians, bad evangelicals, and they're like, well, what about all the adultery that he's done and the fact that he's a pathological liar? He's like, it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing is they can use the Bible in that way. They can say, oh, some of the worst sinners are the best. You know, they were the best leaders and they became the best men for God.
Yeah, but
it's just like, okay, well, then you can just twist anything.
He continues to lie.
It is.
He continues
It's
to
bullshit.
lie. But not only that, his justification is that, and this is the most far-fetched thing of all, not anything about like how he's a reformed Christian, because he's clearly not. He's barely even Christian. It was about.
Yeah.
It was. They were saying he was saying that he believes that everything Trump does is with America at heart. That every decision he makes is for the sake of America, which is the biggest.
But America isn't.
Man, I mean,
Go ahead.
the amount of nepotism, corruption, graft that goes on in the Trump administration, his campaign, every single aspect, every single business he's been involved in for like the past 10 years is under criminal investigation for fraud and graft, basically. His presidential transition campaign, his campaign itself, his nonprofit organization, they are all under criminal investigation for basically...
They shut down the nonprofit.
Yeah,
because it
was a fraud organization who was
a
nonprofit fraud, basically. I mean,
yeah.
And this is the guy who you think has American interests at heart? Like, it's a joke, man. It's a joke.
Well, I think that's even like somewhat of a non sequitur, because if he's saying he has American interests at heart, that has nothing to do with Christianity. Christianity has nothing to do with America.
It was
Christianity is like a borderless thing. Like, it should be about people, and like if you want to follow Jesus' teachings, like it's like basically like a socialist. Like, give up all your possessions and like help everyone as much as you can.
It has nothing to do with Christianity, though. It's
that's the thing, but that's how they spin it. That's how these like
this guy's
ultra
not
wealthy.
He just said that there's nothing Trump could do to lose his support. Here's what he said. This doesn't even base itself on Christianity. I'll read you the quote. I know that he only wants what's best for this country, and I know anything he does, it may not be ideologically conservative, but it's going to be what's best for this country. And I can't imagine him doing anything that's not good for this country.
Right, yeah. Wow, what a great statement. But that's what I'm saying. He's a Christian leader, though. And so, like, what he puts out there is, like, obviously going to get, like, a lot of the, like, non-thinking, non-political, like, right-wing evangelicals to follow whatever he says without question.
Yeah, but he's damaging the base of his own belief system, basically. He's saying blindly follow whatever I tell you, but he's making it a personality cult about himself now, because this is not based on Christianity. And this is what he said here. Here's why he said that Christians should support it. It says, it's immoral for evangelicals not to support him. It may be immoral for them not to support him because he's got African American unemployment to record highs. They need to look at what the president did for the poor.
You want to talk about African American unemployment? If we want to talk about African American unemployment numbers, let's go back to slave eras. They were at 0% unemployment. Wasn't that a great time?
And first of all, it's fucking bullshit.
Right?
In 2 years, he has done absolutely jack shit for African American unemployment. The garbage tax cut that he didn't have anything to do with, that he signed, that the Republican Party did, which basically just inflated the economy in a fake way, and that's going to come crashing down next year because the corporate tax cut is unstable for the economy. I mean, there's no way to get enough revenue to cover how much losses in tax revenue that's going to cause.
Well, yeah, and now he's going after the Fed. Like, oh, they're like trying to like make it more. It's just like you don't understand. He clearly has no understanding of how the economy works.
He doesn't. Well, and he's also on both sides of the issue. He's on record in 2013 saying that high interest rates are dangerous because you have too much. If you have too long of an inflationary period, that it causes instability in the markets, and then a grand total of 3 years later, when he was actually in a position of power, he completely changes his tune.
That's because it was under Obama.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knows that he's gonna make money off of this.
Well, for him, everything he fucking does, man, he's just like he criticized Obama, and then he does the exact same fucking thing like 3 years later.
Yeah.
He criticized Obama for pulling out of Iraq. And for being too weak on Syria, for being too weak on North Korea. And then he does the exact same thing. He pulled out of Syria. He wants to pull out of Iraq. He wants to pull out of Afghanistan. And then he complains. He complained about Obama doing like a little, what do you call it? Like a missile strike, basically, after the Syrian chemical weapons. He said how weak Obama was. He did the exact same fucking thing. He said that Obama was too weak on North Korea, that he didn't extract any concessions out of them. He did the exact same fucking thing. And not only that, I mean, so embarrassing for him. And he posts on Twitter talking about how stable North Korea is. And then Kim Jong-un comes on TV today basically saying that if America doesn't give them what they want, they're going to take a different course and screw this like reconciliation thing with the West. And
Yeah. He didn't even do a deal with North Korea. Like, he went in there and was like, deal's done. I went in there. It's going to be great. North Korea's getting rid of all their bombs. And it's just like, no, North Korea didn't promise anything. And basically, you immediately like started lifting sanctions and things like that. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Did we start lifting sanctions? I'm not sure that we did. We started going easier on them and like and saying that like we're like good buddies and like, oh, North Korea's okay.
We've definitely been diplomatically softer on them, but I don't think we've started to lift sanctions yet. But I know China has definitely relaxed their enforcement of the sanctions because China just cheats at everything they do.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Nightmare, man. Nightmare. But
yeah,
2 more years. 2 years and, 19 days? 18 days? Whatever.
Yeah, it's coming up.
New president is
moderately close. So, I mean, basically, yeah, I don't know if he actually lifted any sanction, but basically was like promising to lift sanctions and things like that. So,
yeah,
it's not good. And yeah, man, the elections are already getting rolling. I mean, Elizabeth Warren announced that she was running for president.
Did you see the video?
It's gonna be a lot. I saw a part of it, but I didn't really watch a ton of it.
Man.
Oh no, I listened to it. I didn't actually watch the video.
You should watch the video because I think that she's already made a lot of rookie mistakes.
What mistakes would you say she made?
So, I mean, this is based on my reading, which I don't know that you'd agree with, that the Democrats, the lesson they should have taken from 2016 is stop pushing the social issues and start pushing the economic issues. Because the economic issues are a lot hotter than the social issues right now. And her video is just filled with images. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying she shouldn't do it, but I guess right now it's a primary campaign, so this is a primary ad. But this is like, she's the first candidate, basically, to announce her candidacy. And it's just full of images of basically, like, I don't know, like that make you think she's a social liberal. Which is fine. I'm not against that. But if she's trying to win the presidency of the United States and take back Rust Belt states, flashing videos of like her like running through a gay pride parade is probably not going to win. Ohio, one of the most conservative states on that issue. So I think the Democrats really need to back off the social issues this time and give it time.
I think you maybe take that a little bit more slow roll. I mean, in a primary, it's again like you were kind of mentioning, it's like a little bit of a different thing. But
it is a primary, but she's the first candidate to announce this, man. Like, so America's watching this shit.
Yeah, but the thing is the Democratic Party is like really going to be the primary is going to be very interesting for on the Democratic side because you have I've seen so many people on Twitter, these like big talking heads on quote unquote the left, that are basically like, I'll never vote for a white male again. Like, I'm not ready to do that again. And then
Bernie Sanders,
but at the same time,
man,
a lot
Bernie
of these
Sanders.
But a lot of times, these same people are the people that are trying to push Beto down our throat. And like, no, it's just like, one, Beto is a straight up like white male like candidate, and Bernie Sanders, like you've mentioned before on the podcast, like he's not technically a white male. He's a Jewish man. Like, so it's just absurd. And that would, but they don't want him because they've already pinned him as a socialist, and they don't want someone who's going to actually push for like progressive change. They want someone who's going to be like a status quo.
But who's they? You mean these like talking heads?
These talking heads on the left, like mainstream pundits. These, yeah, just corporatist elitists.
Those elitists, man.
It's the same. It's basically the same people who voted for Hillary. Those are the people that are like pushing this thing now. And it's just like they're the same people that are gonna try to push like Kamala Harris and all these like milquetoast candidates that maybe like are people of color or they're women or maybe they're both, but their policies aren't good, man. They don't have the policies to like that are gonna make America better.
I don't know enough about
Elizabeth
Kamala
Warren.
Harris.
Elizabeth, she basically like a lot of like her, and there's another one who I can't think of right now. Like Cory Booker is the same idea. Like they're basically like centrist Democrats, establishment Democrats that like now all of a sudden like they know, oh, 2020 is coming up. All right, okay, I'm gonna push my like you can look a bunch of these people have pushed their like import drugs from Canada bill, which Bernie Sanders did like 2 or 3 years ago, and they all voted against it. And now they're like, oh yeah, I'm like super liberal and like I want to like make healthcare cool for everybody, even though I just want to keep Obamacare, which is a right-wing healthcare problem.
For everyone, I like that.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's just like, yeah, I'm totally like, and you can hear it. Like you listen to their arguments and look at their arguments. What they say is they won't say Medicare for all. They won't say a nationalized healthcare system. What they'll say is like, I want everyone to have access to healthcare. And it's like, bitch, pretty much everyone has access to healthcare right now. But it's not good healthcare, and a lot of times it's not affordable healthcare. And so maybe they have healthcare, maybe a lot of people do have healthcare. But it doesn't matter because if they have a serious injury, their copay or their deductible is too high. And then they go into debt or they die because they can't pay it or they're scared to go to the doctor. It's stupid, man. It makes me so mad. But that's why people have to pay attention to these people, because they're fucking grifters, man. They're not in it for the American people. They're in it to make money, or they're in it. Maybe they think they're in it to like for the good of the American people, but they're centrist. They don't really want change. They're just status quo. Let's keep it going. This is okay.
I don't know, man. I agree with you that we should push for change, but I don't think that pushing centrist policy necessarily represents the same as status quo in a compromised environment. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if I can put that better. I'm saying like
maybe
kind of like with healthcare that like I completely like for like the 2009 healthcare thing. So you criticize Obama and you criticize Biden too for being responsible for overseeing the passing of Obamacare. But I agree with you. They should have pushed even harder for a public option. Public option was I think the number one thing back then. However, I think that the political realities sometimes just mean that you have to take the next best thing, or at least make a. I think honestly that they should be willing to make a compromise. Maybe take a public option, and then be willing to give up something else on some other area to get things done, as opposed to have a shittier healthcare bill we have now.
So what I would say is, I agree with that to some degree. I think there are some things that you need to be very principled on. I think healthcare is one of them.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Some things you need to be way more. Healthcare is definitely one of the biggest issues and requires principled stands.
Yeah. If you do have to make if you have to acquiesce to the demands of the other side to some degree, I can understand that and I can live with that. But what I would say is, instead of starting to take the same example of healthcare, the Obamacare thing, instead of starting from the right-wing position, how about you start from a Medicare for all position? How about you say, we're going to have a nationalized healthcare system in this country. I'm going to push everyone in my party because I have the bully pulpit as far as I can. And Obama in the first 2 years, I mean, you can say it was new and he was naive or he wasn't prepared or whatever it was, and that's fine. But even later on, you say, okay, well, he still has a lot of power, and he's the president, which is arguably the most powerful position in the world. So he should push everyone from the farthest left position that he can muster. And then if you have to make some sorts of concessions, then maybe I'm okay with that. But when you start from the right-wing position, and then this position that was created by a right-wing think tank, and then basically now we're what, 6-8 years out, and the Republicans are destroying their own policy that they were going to try to push for.
Well, 2 points to that. One is that for the Democratic position at the time, and I know you always rant against blue dog Democrats, that's who they needed in order to push past the filibuster, basically, in order to get reconciliation. They needed to get like 2 or 3 blue dog Democrat votes, and that's what's considerably weakened the bill, I'm pretty sure. Those 2 or 3 weak points. Second point being that you look at what having the presidency, a majority in both chambers means, and it means very little sometimes. Like, look at Trump. He wanted the wall. The wall, basically, I mean, I don't think any serious Republicans have an issue with the wall, but whatever. They couldn't muster the votes, man. They had the House. They had the Senate. He's like, yeah, well, of course, we'll get something passed before the new year. Nothing fucking happened, man. And now he's backed himself into a fucking corner. He had both chambers and the presidency, and he got almost fucking nothing done. Almost fucking nothing. Yeah. For his entire 2 years.
I think, to your first point about blue dog Democrats, I think that they're a very small minority for the most part. And I think that you need to, because look at what happened. Like, you look at Claire McCaskill, like, she got voted out. Like, a lot of these blue dog Democrats are gone because they're not sustainable. When you run Republican light in a Republican district, you're going to get voted out, because when you have the choice, I made this point before, if you have the choice between light and the real thing, you're going to take the real thing.
Joe Manchin won, man.
So Joe Manchin is an anomaly. He's basically the only one that keeps winning, and I think that is one because there's no one really primarying him that has any sort of name recognition or power, and he's almost, I mean, he will vote with the Democrats sometimes, and I will give him credit for when he votes right, but a lot of times he votes in the wrong way. And I think if someone, like, you look at Paula Jean Swearengin, who primaried him, she basically had no name recognition, and I would have to look at the numbers on it, but she did very, very well against him for basically being like a coal miner's daughter who's like poor and basically did all grassroots funding. So I think that these people are beatable once we coalesce behind candidates.
You're talking about the primary vote in a state that's overwhelmingly not Democratic. So the registered Democrats who actually voted in that primary probably represent like 10% of the state population.
But I think it's about the policies and about how you message. So I think if she would have beat Joe Manchin, I don't think she would have had a ton of, because once you get to that, once you beat him in the primary, then you have so much media attention that you could win. It's the same thing with Bernie Sanders. If he would have beat Clinton in the primary, if he would have not got cheated out of that shit, then I think he would have won the presidency almost hands down. Like, if you look at the data, it's almost for sure that he would have, because he has good policies and he knows how to message. But when you run a centrist toast cracker like Hillary, who's bland and has nothing to fire you up except for saying, everybody Pokemon go to the polls, and I enjoy having the support of real billionaires. It's like, wow, Hillary, way to fire up the base. And don't go campaign in the Rest Belt, you fucking idiot. Like, when you run people like that, then you're not going to win. But if you have people that are maybe far left, and whether that's actually like they're like a legitimate, you have someone like that who's far left, and maybe, like you said, especially in places like West Virginia, things like that, maybe you don't run so hard on the social issues, but you say, hey, I'm going to get you guys jobs. The coal jobs are closing up. If you talk about Hillary Clinton, you say, oh, hey, I know the Rust Belt. You guys aren't doing well. Like, these jobs are closing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a New Deal. I'm going to do a Green New Deal, and I'm going to get you guys jobs. And I'm going to get you guys health care. I'm going to protect you guys. And, maybe I'm going to do Social Security for all, or like a universal basic income, something like that, however you want to frame that. And you push these things that are economic issues like you're saying, I think you can win on a leftist platform. But you have to know how to do it. You can't just be centrist milquetoast and expect people to vote for you because you're like have a political legacy and you think that you're like the next U.S. monarchy. Fuck that, man.
I agree with you on principle, but that's not how that's not how politics in general works in a lot of places, man. Dynasties and name recognition get people elected more often than not. It gets people elected,
but I agree with you.
That's not good. It doesn't make sense, but it's a fact of it's a political reality, and not only in the United States.
No, for sure. Yeah, and I'm not trying to like totally disagree with you on that, but I'm saying with the proliferation of the internet and the more and more that we push these issues and people go to like, that's why I think a lot of people rally behind AOC is like she went door to door. She posted photos of like her sneakers that are like busted out because she like went door to door for like days and days and days. And she won because she got the word out. And again, her district is small, and she's just like she works in the House, not the Senate, or not like a gubernatorialship, or definitely not the presidency. But the more and more that you can see these people on social media and things like that, and you can say, okay, what's your policy? And the more they're engaged with the voters, and they say, I see you're hurting. I see you got problems. Like, I'm trying to help you. And you relate with your voters and you show them that you're a real person, not just like some TV figure that like goes on TV and doesn't really care about the people because you're a billionaire. I think it's gonna reach a tipping point very soon, and it already has. Like, you look at Rashida Tlaib, you look at all these people that have gotten elected who are like demographically, you would think they never get like these Muslim women, these Native American women that are getting elected. It's just like, those people probably shouldn't get elected, but because of their policy platforms, I mean, they shouldn't get elected based on like the way the demographics usually work. Of course, they should be elected because I agree with them almost wholeheartedly. But the more that they get that message out there, I think the more that it's going to resonate with people. I mean, you get, again, I've made this point before, Bernie Sanders going into places in the Deep South that are Trump states and getting people to stand up and cheer for Medicare for all. Like, when you message it right, I think you can get stuff. I forgot what your second point was, but I had something to say about that. But sorry, I ranted long enough. What do you should go ahead.
I don't remember, honestly.
Which is generally what usually happens. Is you say something and then I just rant for like 10 minutes. But yeah, I mainly overall agree with you saying, but I think there's progress being made. I think people are waking up to these policy ideas and realizing that the far left, the progressive people are having more impactful policies on the average person's life, as opposed to like I think we're getting over the trickle down economics thing, that we realize that tax cuts for the rich are detrimental to almost everyone except for the top 1%.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens in 2020. We're about to start seeing a lot of political ads because it's 2 years out, so the campaign pretty much starts now.
I'm excited.
Me too, man. It's gonna be really fun. So I'll ask you this: so who are you excited for, or who are you maybe not even excited for to like vote for, but who are you interested in, and who you think are going to be the big players in the Democratic and Republican front in 2020? I know that's a broad question.
I was telling my dad the other day, I think Bernie's going to probably take the lead, and I hope he's going to win this time. I think it's like, yeah, I hope that's the case. We'll see what happens because of his very contentious relationship with the DNC, but the DNC hopefully will learn from some of its mistakes. And I don't, honestly, I've seen lots and lots of candidates. From everywhere that I've heard, names like you've mentioned, Kamala Harris, Beto, Cory Booker,
yeah. Cory Booker's, and he's kind of throwing his name in the ring with some of the stuff he's trying to propose.
Honestly, none of them are exciting to me. Joe Biden, I know you dislike Joe Biden, but for me, the name recognition will probably get him further, and the fact that he's just a likable person, and the other people, I've heard Cory Booker in the debates before, and who else? Elizabeth Warren. I can't remember if I heard her before. Elizabeth Warren. None of them really excites me, honestly. They all seriously lack charisma, I feel like. And charisma is very important.
It's important. I mean, I wish, it was... I wish policy was first. I always put policy first, but I agree with you. It's definitely important.
Of course, policy's first, but realistically, like I'm pretty cynical as to what their actual policy differences are going to be once they get into office.
Yeah, and I mean, even I would concede this, even if Bernie does get elected, which I hope he does. He's not going to get a whole lot done because he may have the policies in the right place, but like we've discussed before, like it's going to be really hard for him to push things through Congress, especially with the amount of centrists and things like that. But I think it's going to push the Overton window to the left, which is important. And in America, it's a slow roll, man. These things take a lot of time. And so if you get a Bernie Sanders for 4 years, I think that's huge. But if you get Bernie Sanders for 8 years, towards the end of that, I think you might start getting real good policies, and you might start actually pushing the DNC and the Democratic Party to the left, and thus pushing the whole Overton window in the United States to the left.
I honestly think if Bernie won, I have no idea what would happen. I don't know how far he would get. I don't know what he would be able to push. I really just don't know. I feel like if you could find somebody like a president who was liked and respected by both parties, get a moderate Congress, and actually, because realistically, man, in order to like get good legislation that like actually covers shit and that doesn't get squeezed through, you probably need somewhat bipartisan passage of most bills. So if you could get a president who like could actually be bipartisan, I mean, there's no telling how far they could go. Like, and I don't mean making like milk water bills. I mean making bills that have sacrifices that both sides are willing to take. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I and that's one thing that I think Bernie would be able to do, but he would have to. It would take time. I think he would push things, and I think also his messaging is really good. Like if you listen to his speeches, he's and there are other politicians in the U.S. like this, but their messaging is very good. They go out and they say, "This is what's good for the American people," and I think if you can inspire the American people enough, then you can get them to go to their representatives and say, hey man, like, I'm not maybe for all the social issues, like maybe I'm against trans rights or something like that, which you shouldn't be, but they can say, he's given me these numbers they're irrefutable. Like Medicare for all costs less than our current healthcare system, and it's going to cover everybody, and less people are going to die. So you got to vote for this, or I can't stomach voting for you anymore. And not everyone in the U.S. is going to do that, but there will be a lot of people that get motivated when they hear these sorts of things. So I think
he's going to have to push it so hard.
Oh, that's the thing. I think he will. I think that he will be the antithesis to Donald Trump in the fact that he will be similar to him in the way that he keeps. I think he should. I guess I don't know, but he's very good at doing rallies. And I think one thing that Trump has done is he's kept what he's done all his life. He's kept his brand. He goes out there and he spreads his name. So if a Democratic president, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or even a Joe Biden, who I don't think would push for a lot of these things, but someone who gets out there and then after you get elected, you keep going out there doing rallies and saying, hey guys, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to do it for your benefit, and here's why. I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to explain it to you in every city across the U.S., and I'm going to keep going out there and fighting for you guys, and I want you to fight with me. I think that you can get people excited about that sort of thing, especially if you give them a concrete reason why you're doing it. Maybe I'm a little bit naive in the American people and pushing for that, but I think that it will slowly turn that way. I don't think it's going to be Bernie Sanders gets elected overnight and in 6 months we have Medicare for all. I don't think that's a reality. But I think if you get Bernie Sanders for 8 years, you're getting real close to that. And you're getting real close to taxing the rich more because he's going to say it every day. He said it every day of his life, basically. He just goes out there and he goes, these fucking bankers, they're taking all your wealth, and these stupid bankers, they're 1%, and he just goes out there and he does it every day with his disheveled hair, and people resonate with that. They go, this guy looks like he slept in his car, and he He looks like a regular person like me, I mean, he goes to work in a suit that's like is half unbuttoned, and I'm down with that. I love that shit, and I think that will fire up American people. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I think if there's no DNC fuckery, I think he has an amazing shot at winning. I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself because I think they will try to mess with him. But like you look at who's in front right now. If you look at polls, it's back and forth between Bernie and Biden. And if you look at previous polls of who leads these sorts of DNC or even RNC polling, a lot of the people that are front runners end up falling back. But I think Sanders has been pretty consistent for a long time. He's the most popular politician in the United States and has been for a few years now. So if they keep going, I think he has a good shot. I think Biden's time is up. I think by the time all is said and done, he's going to be done.
Biden's time is up.
I don't mean like... No, I don't mean that in the sense that he's going to die. Sorry. But...
he doesn't have much time.
I just think that he's been VP, and he goes out there and he says a lot of stuff, but he hasn't really done that much. And I think by the time the debates and the primaries are over, I think people will have kind of woken up to that, and there will be people that still vote for him. But if people are going to get on the whole, I don't want to vote for, it's going to be a slugfest, because there's a bunch of people coming out saying I won't vote for a white man.
What a crock of shit, man. They're not. These are just idiots. Okay, like they're gonna vote for. If it goes to Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, you think they're gonna stay home? Like, after all their moping and complaining, saying, like, how could you not vote for Hillary? Like, that even if you didn't like her, you voted for Donald Trump by not going to the polls. Those are the same fucking people, man. They're full of shit. They're full of fucking shit, man.
But that's the thing, is they are so full of shit that I don't know, I think a lot of them are so disconnected, because a lot of those people that have the privilege of saying that are people that are wealthy anyway, and whoever is the president is not going to affect them that much. But I agree with you. Most of them will end up bending the knee and voting for the Democratic nominee. But I think some of them won't, because of this like misguided principle that they have, and they'll end up screwing people over, because they want to talk about how much they care about. Oh, I care about these various identity politics. I care about black people. It's like, well, if you look at the policies, the people that have the best policies for these, like, you can talk about representation. I think representation is important, but it's not more important than policy. And Bernie Sanders has much better policy than like a Cory Booker. Like, if you elected a Cory Booker and you elected Bernie Sanders, the policy that is going to be pushed is going to be significantly better for black people, poor people, people of color, gay people, transgender people if you elect Sanders than if you elect Cory Booker. And Cory Booker is a black man, and so you can have the optics of, wow, there's a black person president. Look how that worked out for Obama. The lives of African Americans, Latinos, people of color, these poor people, LGBT people, it didn't get significantly better under Obama. I mean, yes, I think it's great. We had our first black president. I think that's a milestone. But it didn't change that much. The status quo basically continued. We stayed in our wars in the Middle East. We continued our drone bombings. We continued our, like, Obama deported a ton of people. Like, all these people that are raging against Trump but think that Obama was a great guy, they're fooling themselves. Like, he was better than Trump, of course, hands down. But he did a lot of the same shit that they get fired up about Trump against. But that's the thing, is they don't care about actual policy. All they care about is optics. Oh, how does it look? How does it look to the rest of the world? How does it look to me? What do I care? Oh, there's a black guy that's president. That's great. No, fuck that, man. I'm happy to have a black guy as president if his policies are good. But I don't give a fuck if you're a man, woman, whatever. If you're transgender, that's all cool. I would love to have you as my president if your policies are good. But if they're not good, then fuck you, man. Get out of here. I don't want any of that shit. I'm done ranting. You can talk. I'm sorry.
No, I've got nothing to add.
All right. Well, we should get off this topic. We'll talk about this more as the situation develops. I mean, like we said, we've only got Elizabeth Warren so far, so it's basically Pocahontas versus Trump.
Pocahontas. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's another thing I'd like to point out, is that how hard did she fuck up when she released that DNA test?
I don't know.
That's so stupid.
I think she just thought it was interesting. I don't think she fucking cares. I think it was just kind of blown out of proportion. I feel bad for her on that one. It's not like she's like, this is proof of my blood. She's just like, oh, look at this cool thing, you know?
Well, the thing is, she talked about it a little bit much, and then she like made it out like she was like half Native American.
Did she? I don't know if she said that. That's like, I think it's just Trumpian spin.
It's probably a little bit Trumpian spin, but she basically like she kept the issue going, and I think she should have just dropped it. And then, like, you know, my mom said that I'm Native, because that's where it all came from. Was she was like,
my mommy told me
my mom said I'm
Native
American. Yeah, and she was a little bit Native American. Like one of her grandparents or something, or great grandparents. I forget the exact detail, but it's just like, yeah, I've got like the same amount of. I think I'm more Native American than she is, and no one would mistake me for a Native American. Like I'm 1/16 Chickamauga Cherokee, and
what's your DNA test?
It's like. I haven't done a DNA test, but my grandmother is a serious genealogist, so I'll take her to the bank. And if I'm wrong, but that's the thing is I'm not going out on like a world stage and being like, everyone, I'm ethnic because I'm 1/16 Cherokee. So I don't know. I don't fault her too much for that. Like I would still rather have her over like most of the field in the. I mean, she created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah,
like,
I don't dislike any of her politics. I'm worried, and I think she would probably be a good president. I'm worried about her slant on the social issues damaging her chances in the general election.
What do you have against her social policies?
I haven't looked at her social. I'm just saying the video, the way she presents herself. There's nothing specifically, just the tone of it. Maybe I tried to find the video. Let me find the whole video, really fast. And I can get a better idea.
Okay.
Basically, I just saw a few seconds of clips, and all it wasn't like images of like people working. It was like pictures of her hugging brown people and running in a gay pride parade, basically, trying to show that she's like a good leftist, but like without any substantive reason.
Yeah, I'm on my face against like that identity stuff without any policy. Like I'm totally in favor if you want to say like I'm going to make the world better for same-sex couples or you know whatever, like for black people, brown people, in terms of police reform or whatever. But like you got to give me policy. You can't just do this hokey fake garbage that's just like, well, I was in a gay pride parade, so obviously I care about gay people. It's just like, well, not if your policy, like Obama did that too, and he didn't make anything significantly better for those populations. So we have to.
So
I mean, he's better than he's better than Trump, but I'm hard on him because I wish that these people were better. But anyway, we should watch the video and then we'll see.
It's so hard to find the video. Like they make it so fucking difficult. I don't understand why. Because like everything is like news stories.
Yeah, I know. You just gotta go to the video, man. You gotta go to the video tab. All right, hold on. All right, let's watch this together.
Okay. So I can see here that the clips that they played on the news media, because I only saw a few seconds of clips, were very specifically picked for their content.
Yeah.
You the same place as me?
I think so. I just saw the turtle's face.
Oh. The Kellyanne Conway. I fucking hate her so much. Yeah, okay. So can I just say what I learned from watching the whole video as opposed to what I said before?
Yeah.
I think that what was put on like this little CNN clips was not an accurate view. So I feel like this is a not bad video at all. It was pretty reasonable. And I don't think it was too extreme or it didn't focus too much on social issues at all. It was heavily economic actually. So I think that the little clip that I was shown was misleading, and I think that this was a good video.
All right, yeah. So what I would say is, I think CNN has they have their reasons for doing these things, and I think that the reason for them doing that is because they have financial interest in not allowing someone like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders to run and win. At the same time, what I would say is that while it was a pretty good campaign video, there's not really any policies in there. And I think Elizabeth Warren does have good policies for the most part, which is why I'm kind of sad that she didn't put forth some of her policies, because she has good policies that she's put forward. Like the CFPB that she started has literally returned like billions of dollars to the American populace, and I think that's amazing and it's super good. Like, and they're gutting it now under Trump, and that's what she should have said. She should have. I think she just needs to come out and say more things about like why Trump is screwing her over and why her policies are good. But she didn't talk a whole lot about policies. I think the ideas behind them kind of show where her policies will go, but I think you need to talk more explicitly about policies. But that's just my feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible ad, but I just think...
This is just like she's not going to talk about policies at this point, man, because, like, she of all people is, like, kind of a flip-flopper, to be honest. I feel like whatever she says now, she doesn't want to have to backtrack on it later, because it's never good for anyone.
I don't think she's the worst flip-flopper, but I think your point is well taken that it's calculated. It's definitely calculated. But I think it's not good. I mean, I think that's going to come back to bite you. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe she'll come back once the debates get a lot closer and she says, "Okay, well no, like, you know, I'm going to these are the policies that I'm for, and it's in line with the video that I put out, and maybe that will work out for her." But I don't know, man. I just wish people were more upfront about their policies and push them harder. Because I mean, look at the policies that she would be pushing for. I mean, you push for like something like Medicare for all. You push like for decriminalization or legalization of soft drugs, especially marijuana. You push for taxation of the rich. All these things are overwhelmingly popular with the American people when you look at polls.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to hurt you that much.
I don't know, man. I mean, this is what politicians do, though. They do hedging, man. So it's not surprising.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think that's something that the American people are looking for, is someone who doesn't do that, who's not a standard politician. I think that's why a lot of people voted for Trump. There are people that voted for Obama.
Yeah, but Trump is the opposite, because he says whatever the fuck he wants, and then he goes back on it because he's a pathological liar. But that's not...
You're absolutely
I don't think
right.
That's not a good thing either. I don't think people are like, yeah, we definitely want a liar.
No, and that's why people have come out after they had voted for Obama twice and then voted for him and said, I made a huge mistake. I totally bungled this vote, and I should not have voted the way I voted. But that's the reason they voted for him, is because he came out and pushed against the establishment and said, like, this is what I'm in favor of, regardless of, like, whatever, you know, however it's going to turn out. I just think you need people to come out and say these things that are clearly overwhelmingly popular, and then if you do it and you back it up, you have a free ride to 8 years as a president, and you can keep pushing your policies. I think the American people are gonna love you, and of course a certain percentage of the population is gonna hate you no matter what. I mean, there's probably 25% in either direction that's so partisan that whatever they do is bad. I mean, you can look at Trump. There's the people on the left who, whatever he does, even if it's like try to create like a closer relationship with North Korea, they'll just say like, oh, talking to North Korea is bad, which I would say the way that Trump did it was bad, but talking to them in general isn't bad, and de-escalation with Russia is not bad in and of itself. Of course, the way that Trump has done it is probably corrupt, but
yeah,
you have to take these things in somewhat of an... Yeah, and of course, but you have to take it in somewhat of a nuanced view. I think de-escalating these sorts of wars and things like that is a good thing on a broad scale, but yeah, you have to be nuanced about it. You can say, I want to de-escalate this war, but what they say is, oh, Trump is in favor of it, so I'm against it. And I think it's the same thing. There's going to be people on the right that say, you know, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, even like Obama is he's for it, so I'm against it. And that's just, it's silly person logic, but there's a decent amount of the country, and a lot of them that are the voting people, that if you persuade them through your policies and through your action, then they'll back you up, and they won't feel betrayed by you, and so they'll stick with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see how this evolves.
Yeah, it's yet to be seen. Yeah, I mean, okay, so again, to go back to my question before we watched the video and discussed it, and maybe I'll put some clips in, but I'm not for sure, so we'll see. But do you have any favorites? Not necessarily who you like, but who you think will be front runners in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party?
Democratic Party, probably Bernie. Well, I hope and think Bernie, but on the Republican side, Trump is obviously going to take it, but I think Kasich said that he might try and primary him. we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that Kasich has a whole lot of a shot, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I think, yeah, I'm with you. I hope Bernie takes it. I think Bernie will definitely be a front runner. I think he will be down top 2. I think Biden will go a ways, but I think eventually he'll drop out. I don't think he has. I mean, he's polling really well right now, but I think when it gets into the base and stuff, I don't think he has that much substance. So I think it'll end up being someone like maybe a Kamala Harris will come out.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't know, man. Because she has the identity down. She's a person of color, a woman. I think that there will be a lot of people pushing for her without actually examining her record. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, we have a long ways to go before it's all said and done. But I think now that Elizabeth Warren has released her video saying that she's running for president, I think we're gonna have a lot of other videos drop soon. That's
probably
Kamala Harris is running for president. Cory Booker is running for president. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's gonna be exciting. I'm really happy that this is happening because mainly it means that Trump is not gonna be the president of the United States anymore pretty soon. Almost certainly. Is there any other like interesting news stuff you've seen recently?
Let me see. Not really. Yeah, man, I don't see much right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, as much as like stuff has kind of been happening, it's mostly been around those sorts of things, the government shutdown and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the whole pulling half of our troops out of Afghanistan and almost all of the troops out of Syria has also been a big thing. But I don't know. We'll see. It seems like Trump may already be flip-flopping on that. There's been I saw like some hints at that he might be like kind of flip-flopping on pulling out of Syria and things, and maybe Afghanistan. So see where that goes. How do you feel about both of those retractions of troops?
Okay, so we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Let me think. Okay, as far as Syria, I feel like this inconsistency is big. I feel like, first of all, our troop presence there is so minimal, and the risk to our troops is so minimal that I don't honestly understand, like, the pullout. Like, he's like, oh, they're coming home, but no, they're not coming home. They're just going to be posted to another base where they're at pretty low risk of being killed, like Okinawa or, like, fucking South Korea. Like, it's not like they're going to come home. That's not how the military works. They may be leaving that area, but the U.S. troops that were posted in Syria were not combat troops for the most part anyway, as far as I know, that they were basically in an advisory role and helping out the local militias with training and stuff like that. So I think that it's more rhetorical than will have any practical purpose. Most important is the symbolic withdrawal. So the countries, of course, that thought this was a good idea was every single adversary of the United States. So the people who were like, yeah, this is a great idea, were Iran, Russia, Syria, Turkey. Like, all the fucking shit states that, like, basically share zero interests with us.
Yeah. I would say, I think it's a good thing to pull troop levels down there.
The troops were only at 2,000. Like, what? Why?
I've heard estimates as high as 4,000, but even 2,000, that's fair. I mean, it's low, but I would say it's not doing us any good. I think we need to cut down our military presence. But there's a caveat to that. I think that we definitely need to either leave some forces there to protect the Kurds, or we need to very seriously. But the thing is this is so hard with Donald Trump because there's nothing serious about that blob of orange goop. But I think you have to very seriously push our quote-unquote allies in Turkey and things like that to say, if you step foot and hurt the Kurds, we're gonna come after you, or we're gonna make a serious retaliatory strike, or I don't even really like that, but like we're gonna protect the Kurds. The Kurds are like having like a really good push at like democracy and like even maybe like some very socialist policies, and like Donald Trump may not like that. But.
The problem with that, I mean, is that the United States threats often lead to absolutely nothing, and most countries know that. Basically, all these countries have to do to get away with it is basically cover up the exact details of what happened. Just like with these countries, like with Crimea, with what else? With these chemical weapons attacks, just kind of obfuscate,
Yeah.
basically say, oh no, this chemical weapons attack wasn't us. It was carried out by the Syrian people. There were actually some rebels in the area and they shot off the chemical weapons. This kind of stuff. And they just sow doubt and make it so that the country can't respond, basically. So all they'd have to do is be like, no, we didn't massacre the Kurds. The Kurds, started plundering villages in Turkey here, and we had to respond to defend our territory. It doesn't take a lot to change this. It's one thing when you have United States military advisors posted in unit, and they can observe exactly what happens. It's another thing when the nearest U.S. troop base is 2,000 miles away, and you're getting things fourth hand. So it's completely different.
Yeah, so that's what I would say is if we want to keep like a very bare bones skeleton crew in Syria to be with the Kurds, I would be okay with that. I'm very pull out of these places, but I think you are right. I think you're absolutely right on that point. Is these things can be twisted and to say, well, they encroached on our land, or they did this, and whatever we decide to make up, and you can't prove it. So I think that maybe you station a couple people like that. So if there's a rocket strike, then they're risking killing American military service people. Or even at the least point, they're going to at least see it. These military people can see it, and they can rendezvous back and say, "Hey, yeah, we're getting shot at by the Turks or by Russia or whoever it is," and then there can be a healthy response to that.
I think that it's going to be too little, too late. I think it's a completely different situation. This is why we post troops in regions that are volatile. This is why we have a base in South Korea. That basically, if there can be no funny business when you already have troops there, because it's not gonna be like that. The Turkish troops just stream over the border and start burning the villages to the ground. There's gonna be a pretext for it, basically. I mean, they're gonna come to the border, and there's gonna be like a small firefight that just escalates into a larger conflict. And by the time the United States tries to intervene, whatever Turkey wanted to get done will be basically done.
Yeah, but what I would say is that we're not just like where the Kurds are. We're doing a lot of different stuff in Syria and backing different sorts of militia and quote unquote like freedom fighters and things like that. And that's where I think we should get out, and we don't need to be supporting these sorts of. I mean, some of them are legitimate terrorist operations. So we need to back off that stuff. But I'm totally for putting people. If you want to say don't take any of the 2,000 people or whatever the number is, you don't want to take any of them out, but move them all to the Kurdish area of of Syria. I'm okay with that. That's okay with me. But I think we need to be very careful about how we move in these places and supporting these sorts of. Also, that's not even where we put people. It also is concerns where we put our money. But I think we need to be much more careful about how we insert ourselves in these situations than we are. Is basically what I would get at. So I get your point, and I totally agree with you, but I think we're a little too willy-nilly with that. And I mean, look at, there was like a Pentagon thing that like they basically misplaced like $21 trillion or something like that. They clearly don't have a handle on the situation. We need a lot more oversight, and we need to be a lot more careful about these things. So I don't know. I get frustrated when it's just like, well, you can use, because I think you have the right headspace for these things, but a lot of people would say the same thing that you said, and they say, so we should just have troops everywhere. And I think that that's not the right way to handle these things.
No, but if we have, first of all, we're already there. Second of all, we've had close military allies in the Kurds. I mean, and I recognize a lot of, because I talked to some Turkish people about this recently, and Russian supporters, and basically their thing is like, oh, well, it's not as simple as you think. Basically, you think that all these Kurd groups, you have the Kurds in Iraq who have their own little democracy, you have the Kurds in Syria, that basically the Kurds don't share a language, they don't speak to each other, and they hate each other. So I don't know the truth of those situations, but yeah, it's not clear to me. But I think that since we're already in there, we might as well support the defense of the minority group. If it's only going to cost us, a few thousand, 2,000 observer soldiers to hold an entire fucking country, like that's a pretty small cost compared to how many troops do we have in South Korea? 30,000, 40,000? Like, I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah. I think if we do it the right way, because the thing is if you look at those two situations, the difference between what we're doing in South Korea is literally observer status, but what we're doing in places like Syria, you can argue we're training militia members who are basically terrorist groups in some cases, or we don't necessarily know. I'm not saying we're like willingly informing terrorist groups or like training terrorist groups, but in some cases it turns out that they are. So I think we need to be very measured about how we do that. So that's what I would say. I think our presence in places like that is okay, but when we get to doing things like bombing runs or selling weapons to places like Saudi, we get into like really tricky territory. And you have places like earlier in Syria, there were like Pentagon-backed rebels versus CIA-backed rebels who are fighting each other, and it's just like, what are we doing? We're literally arming both sides of the war, and that's just shows me more and more that the military-industrial complex has literally taken over America. It's in full-fledged. So if we're transparent about it and we're measured and we make sure that we're making a smart decision, I'm okay with that. But it's got to be very careful. I'm not okay with just saying, well, we got people over there, so we just put them in. And I don't necessarily think that's what you're arguing. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people are just like, well, we're already over there, so whatever. Like, we'll just stay over there. No, I think especially for like Afghanistan and things like that, we need to start pulling back our troop numbers and being much more measured in the way that we handle ourselves in those places. Because if we're not measured, what we're doing is creating more terrorists.
I know what you're saying. Anyway, there's a difference between criticizing the details of the policy versus criticizing the overall policy.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's not it's not easy. It's not like this is just like a black and white issue. So, I mean, I get fired up about a lot of this stuff, and I think we should have a lot less impact than we do a lot of times. But I do get it that it's not like you can just say, okay, let's just withdraw everyone and let's be. I'm a pretty isolationist person, but there are groups like that you need to support. Like the Kurds have like, from what I've heard, I mean, and I'm not like a scholar on this issue, but they're creating like a very, very much like a bastion of like democracy and like, in even some ways like a very social democratic like system within their thing. Like they're pushing for like nationalized healthcare and things like that. It's like those are good things. Those are things we need more of in the world. So if those people are asking for our assistance and our help, yeah, let's go. Let's help them do that. As long as we do it in the right way, and we're not, for lack of a better term, we like willy nilly about it and just like, we're Middle East. Like let's grab more power. I'm not for power grabs, but I'm for supporting legitimate democracies as opposed to overthrowing things like that, like we've done in the past, overthrowing regimes.
I know what you're saying. I'm pretty wiped, man. You wanna call it?
All right, yeah, we can tap this out. I mean, we've done pretty well. I mean, we've recorded a little over an hour here. I'll probably cut it down to a little bit less, but yeah, for anyone that stuck this out with us, we appreciate you guys. I mean, I'll have 2 episodes up before this. After this, I'll probably have my buddy Aaron on, who is a world famous comedian from Kansas City. So, that'll be good. That'll be like a really interesting. I don't know what we're gonna talk about, but we're gonna have certainly gonna have some interesting discussions, and it'll be really good to catch up with him because like I texted him till like 4 a.m. the other day because we were just like haven't talked in so long. But yeah, and for episode 20, I'm gonna try to have my dad on again. Again, I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about because we talked about a lot of stuff the first time he was on. But I'm going to try to get these episodes up to you guys soon. And we'll see. We'll find something. I'm pretty good at just talking, even if I don't have anything to say.
Oh, we forgot to talk about the biggest issue, which was Hangoyu and the stuff about opening the real estate here. We'll save that for next time.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. So Ari's got things to do because he's like a super student. So he might be off. We might be off for like a week or so. Yeah, so probably
a week.
Yeah, it'll probably be 3 to 4 days after I post this podcast that we'll have another one. We need to talk about Hangoyu, both that he is not only pushing for open housing for Chinese mainlanders, but also he's a murderer, allegedly. Just kidding. But he's killed someone. But all that aside, we thank you guys for listening. Do the social media stuffs. But yeah, it's been good, and we appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget to share with all your Facebook friends. Get them to like this page. Just spam it until they like delete you as a friend. That's kind of what I do. So yeah, but we appreciate it. We'll talk to you all soon. Love you guys.
Love you too.